I've been going to the same gym for 2 years now, always at 6 in the morning before work, and I had my routine down to a science. Earbuds in, head down, 45 minutes of lifting, shower, then straight to the office. I noticed people, sure, but I never really saw them, if that makes sense. Until 3 months ago, when everything changed because of one simple question that I'm pretty sure he didn't actually need to ask. His name was Finn, and I'd seen him around for weeks, maybe a month, always in the free weight section when I was doing my sets. Dark hair that felt just right even when he was sweating. This focused expression when he lifted that made him look like nothing else in the world existed. He had these forearms that I definitely wasn't supposed to be noticing. Veins visible when he gripped the bar. And I'd catch myself watching him in the mirror more than I wanted to admit. I told myself I was just checking his form, making sure I was doing my exercises right, but that was a lie I knew I was telling myself even as I thought it. That Tuesday morning started like any other. I was on my third set of bench press, nothing crazy, just 165, when I saw him walking toward me between reps. I sat up, pulled out one earbud, and he was standing there with this slightly sheepish smile that did something weird to my chest. "Hey man, sorry to interrupt," he said, and his voice was deeper than I expected, warm. "Any chance you could spot me on bench? My usual gym partner bailed this morning." I looked over at the bench he'd been setting up. 2 45-pound plates on each side. That's 25 total. This guy was built, clearly strong, and I'd seen him lift before. He definitely didn't need a spot for that weight. I knew it. He probably knew that I knew it, but I heard myself saying, "Yeah, of course, no problem," like it was the most natural thing in the world. I followed him over to his bench, and he lay back, hands gripping the bar, and I positioned myself behind him, hands ready underneath the bar, but not touching. "You good?" I asked, and he nodded, lifting the bar off the rack. I watched him lower it, press it up, smooth and controlled. His breathing was steady. His form was perfect. He didn't need me there at all. "How many are you going for?" I asked after his third rep. 10, he said, and his voice was just slightly strained now, but not struggling. I kept my hands near the bar, watching the way his chest moved, the tension in his shoulders, trying very hard not to notice the way his shirt rode up slightly, showing a strip of skin above his waistband. He hit 10 reps easily, racked the bar, and sat up, breathing a little harder now, but smiling. "Thanks, I appreciate it," he said. "I'm Finn, by the way." "Logan," I said, and we shook hands. His grip was firm, his palm slightly calloused, and the contact lasted maybe half a second longer than a normal handshake. Or maybe I imagined that. I couldn't tell. "You here most mornings?" he asked, grabbing his water bottle. "Yeah, 6 to 7, usually. Weekdays." "Same," he said. "Weird that we haven't talked before." I shrugged, feeling suddenly awkward. "I usually just zone out. Do my thing." "Yeah, I've noticed," he said, and something about the way he said it made me look at him more carefully. "You're pretty focused. It's impressive, actually." We talked for maybe 5 more minutes, just small talk about the gym, our routines, how early morning workouts were better than fighting the after-work crowd, and then we both went back to our separate workouts. But I couldn't focus anymore. My mind kept replaying the conversation, the way he'd smiled, that comment about noticing me. I finished my routine on autopilot and left without showering, suddenly needing to be alone with my thoughts. The thing is, I'd always known I was attracted to guys. I'd known since high school, maybe earlier, but I'd never really done anything about it. I'd had a girlfriend senior year, dated a few women in college, nothing serious, nothing that felt quite right. I'd told myself it was because I was focused on my career, on getting established. that I just hadn't met the right person yet. But sitting in my car in the gym parking lot that morning, hands shaking slightly on the steering wheel, I couldn't lie to myself anymore. The way my heart had raced when Finn smiled at me, the way I'd been hyper-aware of every inch between us when I was spotting him, the way I was replaying every word of our conversation like it meant something, like it was important. That wasn't nothing. That was something I'd been avoiding looking at directly for a very long time. The next morning, Wednesday, I almost didn't go to the gym. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, telling myself I could work out after work instead, that I was being ridiculous, that one conversation didn't mean anything. But I went in anyway, and Finn was there. And when he saw me, his whole face lit up in this smile that made my stomach flip. "Logan, hey," he said, walking over like we were old friends. "Good timing. Want to work in with me on squats?" We ended up working out together for the entire 45 minutes. In between sets, we talked. I learned he was a graphic designer, freelance, which explained the flexible schedule. He'd moved to the city 2 years ago from Portland. He loved horror movies and terrible reality TV in equal measure. He had a sister in Boston he was really close to. He asked about me too. Actually listened when I talked about my job in marketing, my tiny apartment that cost way too much, my college years. It became our routine. Every morning we'd find each other, work out together, talk. Some days we'd grab coffee after at the place next door, sitting in our gym clothes, still sweating slightly, and those conversations stretched longer and longer. I learned the way his nose crinkled when he laughed, really laughed. The way he'd run his hand through his hair when he was thinking. How he'd touch my arm when he was making a point. Just briefly, casually, like it didn't send electricity through my entire body. I was falling for him. I knew it. I'd known it for weeks. Maybe from that first morning. And it terrified me because I had no idea if he felt the same way. If that first request for a spot had meant what I thought it meant. Or if I was reading into everything, because I wanted so badly for it to be real. One Friday morning, about 2 months into our friendship, we were doing deadlifts, and I was watching him in the mirror, the way I always did. And he caught me looking. Our eyes met in the reflection, and he didn't look away, and neither did I. And there was this moment where everything else in the gym just disappeared. Then someone dropped a weight nearby, the crash breaking the spell, and we both looked away. But my heart was hammering so hard, I thought he might hear it. After our workout, we got coffee like usual, but something felt different. The conversation was stilted, awkward in a way it had never been before. We kept starting sentences and trailing off. Finally, Finn said, "Logan, can I ask you something?" "Yeah, of course," I said, gripping my coffee cup too tight. He looked down at his hands, then back up at me, and I'd never seen him look nervous before. "That first day, I asked you to spot me. You knew I didn't really need help with that weight, right?" My mouth went dry. Yeah, I kind of figured. "I'd been trying to work up the courage to talk to you for weeks," he said, the words coming out in a rush now. "You'd come in every morning, so focused and in your own world. And I kept thinking of things to say, but they all sounded stupid. So finally, I just asked for a spot, even though I definitely didn't need one. And I felt like an idiot. But then you said yes, and we started talking. And these past 2 months have been..." He stopped, shook his head. "Sorry, I'm rambling." "No," I said, and my voice came out rougher than I intended. "Don't apologize. Keep going." He met my eyes, and I saw the same fear I felt reflected back at me, the same hope. These past 2 months have been the best mornings I've had in years, and I know we're friends. And if that's all this is, that's okay. I don't want to mess that up. But I had to tell you that I didn't ask you to spot me, because I needed help. I asked, because I wanted an excuse to talk to you, because I'd been watching you for weeks and thinking you were the most attractive guy I'd ever seen. And I'm really hoping that I'm not completely misreading this situation right now. I couldn't breathe. The coffee shop was full of people, the morning rush, noise and movement all around us. But all I could see was Finn, looking at me with his heart in his eyes, waiting for me to say something. Anything. You're not misreading it, I said quietly. God, Finn. I've been losing my mind trying to figure out if you felt the same way. Every morning I'd wake up excited to see you, and I'd tell myself it was just because we were friends, but it wasn't. It's not. You're the first thing I think about when I wake up, and the last thing I think about before I sleep. And I've never felt like this about anyone. His smile started slow, then spread across his whole face. Brilliant and relieved and happy. And he reached across the table, took my hand in his. Right there in the middle of the coffee shop, in front of everyone. And I didn't care. I laced my fingers through his, felt the calluses on his palm, the warmth of his skin, and thought that I'd never held something so precious. So what now? I asked. Now I'd really like to take you on a date, he said. A real one. Not just coffee after the gym. I'd really like that, I said, and I was smiling so hard my cheeks hurt. Our first real date was that Saturday. Finn picked me up at 7, and he'd clearly put effort into his appearance, wearing dark jeans and a button-up that made his eyes look impossibly green. And I'd changed my outfit 3 times before settling on something casual but nice, and we were both nervous in the best way. We went to this Italian restaurant he'd been wanting to try, sat across from each other in a booth in the back, and talked for 3 hours. The same easy conversation we'd had at the gym, but different now, charged with this new understanding between us. When he drove me home, he walked me to my door, and we stood there in the hallway. And I knew he was going to kiss me. Could see it in the way he was looking at my mouth, and I wanted it so badly I felt dizzy with it. Is this okay? He asked, stepping closer, and I loved that he asked, loved the consideration in it. Yes, I said, and then his hand was cupping my jaw, gentle and sure, and he kissed me, soft at first, questioning, and I kissed him back, my hands finding his waist, pulling him closer. He made this small sound against my mouth, and I felt it all the way through my body. And when we finally pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. I've wanted to do that since the first time you spotted me, he said, his forehead resting against mine. You should have, I said. Would have saved me 2 months of losing my mind. He laughed, kissed me again, quick and sweet. Good night, Logan. Good night, Finn. I went inside, closed the door, leaned against it, and just stood there, smiling like an idiot. My phone buzzed a minute later. A text from Finn. Already miss you. Same time Monday morning? I texted back. Wouldn't miss it. That was 3 weeks ago. We still meet at the gym every morning, still work out together. But now he kisses me hello in the parking lot. And we hold hands between sets when no one's looking. And sometimes we skip the coffee shop and go back to one of our apartments instead. We're taking it slow in some ways, figuring out how to be together, how to navigate this thing that feels so huge and important and right. Last night, we were at his place, watching a movie on his couch, my head on his shoulder, his arm around me, and he said, I'm really glad I asked you to spot me that day. Even though you didn't need it, I said, teasing. Especially because I didn't need it, he said. Best excuse I ever made up. I tilted my head up to look at him, this man who'd had the courage to reach out, to take a chance, to ask for something he didn't need, because he wanted to know me. "I'm glad you did too," I said. "I'm glad you saw me when I wasn't really seeing anyone." He kissed my forehead, soft and sweet. "I always saw you, Logan, from the first day. And the thing is, I believe him. I feel it in the way he looks at me, the way he knows how I take my coffee, the way he remembers small things I mention in passing, the way he makes me feel brave enough to be myself, fully myself. For the first time in my life. I spent so long telling myself I was focused on other things, that I didn't have time for relationships, that I just hadn't met the right person. But the truth was I was scared. Scared of what it meant to want what I wanted, to be who I was. And then Finn walked up to me in a gym at 6 in the morning and asked me to spot him on a weight he could definitely handle alone. And everything changed. We're still new, still figuring things out, but when I wake up now, I don't just go through the motions anymore. I'm excited. For the gym, yes, but more for the person who'll be there waiting, who sees me, who chose me, who was brave enough to make the first move so that I could be brave enough to meet him halfway. This morning, Monday, we met in the parking lot like always. He kissed me hello, soft and quick, and we walked in together. At the bench press, he loaded up 225, the same weight as that first day, and looked at me with this mischievous smile. "Spot me?" he asked. "You don't need a spot for that weight," I said, playing along. "I know," he said, "but I'm asking anyway." So I stood behind him, hands ready, and watched him lift, smooth and controlled and perfect, and thought about how sometimes the best things in life come from asking for help you don't actually need, from taking chances, from being brave enough to reach out to someone and hope they reach back. After his set, Finn sat up, looked at me standing there and said, "Your turn." I loaded my usual weight, lay back on the bench, and he positioned himself behind me, hands near the bar, and I could feel his presence there, solid and sure. And I knew that whether I needed the spot or not, he'd be there. That's what this is, what we're building, being there for each other, supporting each other, even when we're strong enough to do it alone. I lifted the bar, started my reps, and through the mirror across the gym, I could see us, Finn standing behind me, both of us exactly where we were supposed to be. And I thought that this, right here, was what I'd been looking for all along. Not just someone to work out with or grab coffee with, but someone who saw me, really saw me, and decided I was worth the risk. Someone who asked me to spot him, even though he didn't need the help, just because he wanted an excuse to know me better. And thank God he did, because I don't think I would have been brave enough to make the first move. But he was. And now here we are, building something real and honest and beautiful, one morning at a time. Total_char_. Count 16,847.